This video is to focus on the People's Choice Classic user who converts to People's Choice Accounting with the focus on the Accounts Receivable module. The first video in this series was focusing on the Payroll and Disbursement module, where this one is focusing on those who are still on a bookkeeping configuration but just have payroll and disbursements on their menu like is shown on the screen here. This will be focusing strictly on the accounts receivable end. The emphasis on the payroll disbursement, all those things are exactly the same as in the first video, so you could watch the previous video on the payroll disbursements and how it's used if you want that information. So what we'll be doing is we will taking a People's Choice Classic system, and we're going to convert it to the People's Choice accounting system. And we'll go ahead and we'll look at the list of customers. We will create an invoice in People's Choice Classic, and we will create the exact same invoice in People's Choice accounting. I want to highlight that when you convert, that even though we will be going, as mentioned in the first video, to a full general ledger basis of accounts, the accounts receivable portion isn't really impacted by that. You can just see down here that the receipts accounts, and we just highlighted a few of them that were in Classic, have the same number and same description once they're converted over the People's Choice accounting system. So in People's Choice Classic Accounting, to go to enter an invoice, you would enter, go to enter invoices. You don't have to choose between manual and computer invoices. We're just going to use a manual invoice in this case. We don't have to print. There isn't a summary detail or summary invoice in the People's Choice accounting system, only the detail invoice, and you don't need to decide at this point whether you want to have invoice numbers or not. In the People's Choice Classic, to start a new invoice, you typically search in the customer code. You hit F5. We're going to pick A1 Lawn Care, and then you view this information. Normally you just hit enter again to get to this information, and then you page down and hit S to save, and then you're to the screen to where you enter in what the invoice is going to be. In our system over here in People's Choice, to do the exact same invoice, we would go to the sales menu, click on invoices, click on new, and you would look by customer number instead of the F5 key. You could just start typing in the number, or you click on the drop down list. In this case, we're going to again select the lawn care, and in this particular situation it was an over-the-counter sale. If you wanted to, you don't have to, because we're not necessarily going to print this invoice, but you could just put in over-the-counter sale, and then you're ready to enter in the information right here. So we're at the same point in time where here we're going to enter in a quantity of, in the Classic system, of 1, hit enter, and then you're aware you hit F5. We're going to pick the Technique notebook. It's no discount, it is taxable, $7.25. Enter. You can see it goes to the 405 account. To do the same thing here, we would put in a 1 shipped. In the drop down, we have the same drop down. It got converted, $7.25. It put it into the same GL account, the 4050, and you would hit enter, confirm that it's taxable, and you can go to the next line to enter in a new invoice. So you can see at this point in time everything matches up. We have $7.25 We have sales tax of 44 cents, total of 769. Same thing over here, 44 cents, 769. So let's go ahead and over here we'll enter in another one. We're going to sell 2 of these. We hit the F5 again, and we're selling 2 guides here. So they're $72, taxable as well. Over here we go and we enter in a 1. Same ID, fill it in, same price. We got 10 in here. Just wanted, well, I guess we ordered 2 on that one, didn't we? So we'll put a 2 here and a 2 here. Same information. Once you go down, you'll see the total of the invoice up here is 160.33, 160.33, exactly the same invoice. And at this point we can hit save. If you wanted a summary, you could say books, and what's put in here can show up on the statement if you send out statements. Similar to when you're done here, you hit escape, you hit save, and then here you could enter in books. So if you wanted to enter a payment in now, you say yes. Bank of America, let's put in payment, check number 152, total received, no discount. And so that's our payment here. To enter the payment over here, you would click on the pay button, and we have to go ahead and match up the date, and the check number is 152, and the amount received is 160.33. So we're at the same point where here you're saying it's okay to proceed. Say yes. Over here you say just apply payment. And so now you can see the amount due is 0. Here's what the payment is. And so if you were to print this, you could, even if it was a manual one, you could still reprint it. You would click here, P to print. Most people use the simple invoice, but there are a couple of other options that can be used. Print preview is what we'll look at. There is the option to email in the new system, which is not available on the People's Choice Classic system. So we'll do a print preview, and here's what the invoice would look like. That could be mailed out or emailed. This logo, we put our logo on here just to demonstrate that you can, if you have a logo that you have on your checks or on your existing invoices, we could do that. This is printing to plain paper. We're not using any pre-printed forms in this particular example, although pre-printed forms are available, but they need to be sheet-fed forms, and then you could choose one of those formats. We had picked this to be a manual invoice, so we're not printing anything over on this one, but we did go ahead and enter in a payment. So I'm going to do one more invoice, and if we were doing a series of invoices, all we would have to do down here is come and click new. And over here, when we go in, again, we'll do another manual invoice. We hit F5, we'll pick the next one down on the list. Enter, page down, save. And so now we're to the same screen. Over here, we'll catch up by just adding these. So there are fewer keystrokes to get to this form versus getting to this form in the People's Choice Classic. But here today's date. We're going to use, again, we'll do a quantity of 2, and we'll do F5. We just bought, a lot of people are buying 2 of these. So they ordered 2. Here they ordered 2. Select the same guide, enter. We're only going to put one item on this, so it's 144 over here, 152.64 total, 864. Once we get off the line here, so this is one thing that had been changed on this one. So a way to get to that one screen where you had your details is to double click here, and that'll bring you up to the customer setup. And we're going to take this and we're going to assign a sales tax to them. So over here we'll hit F5, select the same product. We're just having one product here, so we have the 864, total one's 52.64. We're not going to enter the payment here, so over here we'll go ahead and hit escape, hit S to save, and we can put in the same books, and we'll say no to enter a payment there. Here we'll put in books. The total's the same. We're done. We're either going to print and mail it, or we're going to email it, but then we're going to hit done. And then later on they're going to mail in the check. You may send out a statement. If it's late, you may calculate finance charges. Similar process in both systems, but when it comes to the payment coming entered in, then you would go ahead and put in whatever number they had. In this case, they're going to put in, we'll just say it's number 463, and the customer is Todd. You can see the 152.64. Now you do have options. You can drill down and look at the invoice here, but otherwise we'll put in the 463, and we'll put in the 152.64. We'll complete that. Over here we'll go to the entering in the payments, which bank account. You don't pick the bank account over here. We have a payment. We hit F5. We go down to Todd. And again, we can just hit in payment. And we have 463 as our check number. And the 152.64 is applied manually, and hit F5, our books today, okay to proceed. And so you see our payment there. It's been applied. In the system over here, we can just click pay, or we can click auto allocate. It's just one invoice. I'll click pay. It puts the 152.64 there. We click apply payment, and the payment has been applied. So that's going through creating the invoice in the classic system, creating it in the new People's Choice accounting system for the same customer, the same invoice, and entering in the payment. We did 2 examples, one with a payment with under lawn care payment, and then one where we come to our payment register and enter in the payment here. So when you go to do a bank deposit, here you're looking at these, and if you're done entering payments, it says, would you like to make a bank deposit? In the classic system, you would say yes, and we'll put in today's date and hit enter. And we're going to go ahead and just deposit this one. Over here in the banking, you would go to deposits, you would go to new, you would go to the deposit slip, you would click undeposited payments, and we'll make both of these deposits here. Over here you say escape, gives you the total. Here you check and add them to the deposit slip. You see the total, $312.97, $312.97. If you're done here, you click done, and it creates the deposit for $312.97. Here you'd click record deposit. If you want the deposit slip attachment, you would say yes and print it. I'm going to say no. If you want a deposit slip here, you would go ahead and click print. Most would include deposit detail, and you can see the deposit of $312.97, and down here you see the itemization of the check number and the customer who provided this. So that took a complete cycle of entering in an invoice, entering in the payments 2 different ways, and then creating the bank deposit from the payments that were received. So the other functions are very similar. We won't go through each one in this particular video, but entering credit memos in Classic is basically entering in a negative invoice in the People's Choice accounting system. So the entry screens are negative, and you basically are doing the manual credit memo just like you would do here. You would do it as a negative invoice here. Apply unapplied payments and credit memos in the People's Choice accounting system. When you go in to enter in payments, if you have any credits for a customer, if you pulled up a customer and they had credit, you would have the ability to apply credit memos here. That's where that step is done here. And the finance charges is done on the sales menu. Go to finance charges. Recurring invoices is also handled right here. The printing of statements is handled here. And the printing of the statements, you don't have to define the customer like you do in Classic, whether it's a balance forward or an open item. You just choose which format you want to use and put in the date range. You do have the option to select specific customers, so if you just wanted to the 2 that we did, if they still owed, to print out the statement. We do also have the ability to email if you're going to be doing statements. So those are all the items here, is how you would handle the finance charges statements. Of course, we've done the invoicing. In terms of the reports, when you go to the general reports for accounts receivable, everything is in the reporting's in our reports menu. These would be sales reports, and I guess I don't have myself set. So looking at the different reports available, the ones in common, there's an invoice register, and of course the payment register that are listed as the Classic. There is a customer ledger card that is listed in the sales report here. A receivable aging, if you scroll down here, there's the receivable aging. You do have some options in the receivable aging to do a detail or a one-line only format. The sales by account, that would be handled, well, there's a couple of ways. You could do it through the invoice register, although more than likely you would be doing it via on the cash basis system. Do the sales analysis by customer if you wish. The sales tax report is the sales tax by location on a cash basis. Quite often we use a general ledger report and work backwards. Most users just want to report the sales they've collected on a cash basis, not what they've invoiced. Where the sales tax report here is actually generating sales tax by invoices created with whatever date range that you put in the particular report. The analysis report, there are similar analysis reports that can be generated in the system. Item product services report, now those are going to be more in your purchases menu. Well, here you'd actually be in the inventory menu. You could look at your listings and the ledger card. Printing labels, that's going to be done in the sales, or you have customer mailing labels. So all these things that are available reports there, we just kind of show where they're at in the People's Choice accounting system. Otherwise, those are the basic functions of entering in an invoice, entering in a payment, and making a bank deposit, both in the People's Choice Classic system. And again, after converting to the data, do the exact same thing, so you know all the customers and all the history is the same as it was in the Classic system. And then we made the analogy of entering in the same invoice in both systems, so you could see the differences, but also see how you can come up with the same results.